We're doing these belts on TREW Conveyor, the narrow belt accumulation. They show on MHS Narrow Belt Conveyor, you overlap at 36 inches because they have way more take-up. They have a pulley with some cables to get a really long, maybe 3 or 4 foot take-up pulley, pneumatic take-up in the drive. But on these TREW Conveyor, it's not quite as nice. They only got like 12 inches of take-up, so they have you pull the belts as tight as you can, and then the place at which they overlap, which was this line, then you add on another 3 inches. So then you pull it through, and they say in the TREW manual to start the cut at that 3-inch mark. I'm not sure if they mean to start, you know, this is where they overlapped, and then to start that, let me turn this light on here, to start the cut actually at the 3-inch past there. We found that it works out just fine to start it at this end of the cutter, which then the first part of the cut is actually, maybe in a couple inches. Gives you a little bit extra room, and it works out on the take-up. I'll show you later. So Charles is tightening the belt down now, and then we're going to index across these 6 holes here and cut it. So Charles just did his first hole. Now he moves down to the second hole. And another thing to mention, they should say this on a video that MHS has, but you keep the cutter in one direction, and let's say you're cutting this side of the belt, and the cutter is this way because you keep track of where this arrow is pointing, and then you don't flip the cutter around. So you cut this end of the belt, pull that out, then you cut the other end of the belt, put it in from the opposite end of the cutter, and that way they'll have opposite cuts because the blades in here are like a V shape going down. So in theory you're making like a female cut on this side, and when you put in the other belt from the other side, you're making a male cut. Obviously it's several fingers, but they'll match up properly. And he just pulled that one out. This one's cut. Then a scrap piece. And now watch, don't turn that belt cutter around. He just sticks the other end of the belt in from the opposite end. And there he's putting it in. That was where they overlapped, and then he's got a crow's foot 3 inches beyond where the belts overlapped when stretched tightly. Now he's tightening them down. This is SJF's cutter and welder they're letting us borrow because we left ours at the shop. Thought that we couldn't use it for the TREW Conveyor. We thought they were different than the MHS belts, but they're the same. SJF, they treat their installers too good, giving them equipment and tools to use. They even sent us, Dave sent us a Hilti squirt gun for the epoxy anchors. Alright, now he's on his second hole here. Now he's going to the third hole. Now we'll pause again. If you accidentally miss a hole there and you pull it out, then you're going to be messed up because you'll have all the fingers cut except for one V cut, which is like 2 sides. So then you'll be alright if you have enough slack to cut the other, pull it through a little bit and cut it again. But if you've already cut one side of the belt and now you messed up on the second one, you're going to be messed up. So you want to make sure you cut all 6 holes before you unbolt it out of that clamp. And now we got this one cut on this side. Alright, so now those are cut. And again, you want to pull these tight and show them that again. That's what he marked when he pulled these as tight as he could. That's where they overlapped. Then he added 3 inches on. That's where we put it into the cut. I'm not sure if TREW is saying to start that 3-inch cut or start cutting the belt at that mark, but we found a little extra. Works out fine. It gives you a little more room with the belt welder. There's already hardly any room because they only give you a 12-inch take-up. So that's why we've been putting that 3-inch crow's foot to the clamping part of the belt cutter. Then Charles, the first time you weld it up or put it in the pre-starter, you want to make sure that the fingers meet to the other fingers tightly and across the width. It's not loose in there. I'll show you later on the welding video. But if it is tight enough and you have to, then you'll cut off like a 1/4 inch or so, like Charles is doing here. Sometimes if the blades on the belt cutter are not very sharp or it's deforming when it's cutting, then you actually may not have to cut off the end tips. You might actually want them on, because then you don't have enough material. You'll see if you're doing it. Just wait to make sure you have good blades on there before you start cutting tips. First put it together in the presetter and see if it fits nicely together and you need to cut off the tips. So here we're at the drive. Let's look at the take-up and see what I was talking about. Very little take-up. So here they got, a long drive, but then you got the air cylinder right here, and then the piston moves out right here directly in front of the piston. And then this pulley, see, it only has about 12, a little more, but estimating 12 to be safe, where it can go. So, and then they have a little gauge here. Obviously when it gets down to that point, if it's bottoming out, it still might need to be tighter with the air take-up, but then you're bottomed out. So different on the MHS ones, like I mentioned. I don't think the pulley is right in line with the cylinder. It's like the cylinder is pushing, I think, something with a cable around it, like a pulley. And then you actually have like the whole length of the drive for a take-up. It might be like a 3-foot take-up or something like that. So that's much more friendly. It's got a lot more room for you to belt weld.